Welcome to day one of my Kek trip. I've already been hiking about an hour and a half, and I think I've reached the boundary waters now. So you actually, from the Gunflint, you start out on Centennial Trail, and then hook up with the Kekekabic, and then finally get to the actual boundary of the boundary waters. The trail's in great shape. There's just one flooded out section, but other than that, it's pretty easy to follow so far. I know that's going to change. I also tested out one of my GPS points that I downloaded from the North Country Trail Association, and it was spot on. So I'm going to find out later if that remains true, but that was definitely a confident booster. So day one of the Kek. Okay, I reached the first campsite on Kekekabic Lake, so I think I'll stop here for lunch. Kind of odd, all these rocks piled on top of the fire grate. So I don't know if someone's trying to send a message or what those are doing up there. But otherwise, this first site looks really nice. There's at least two nice tent pads, and then a beautiful view of the lake back there. So it's only noon, day one. And so far the trail's been easy to follow, but I know that will change. Well, I figured out the rocks. Of course, somebody was having a fire in the rain, and that was their way of keeping the fire going. But I do like this site, so if you're coming out late onto the trail, this is a good one to shoot for on the first night. Well, I think I'm getting in the area of Seahorse Lake. The trail has actually been not too bad, just one section where I wasn't sure if I was wading through a stream into the dark wilderness or was on the trail, but about 100 feet of that, and I managed to poke through on the other side and all was good. So fortunately, even in these tough spots, you can count on seeing these rock cairns every once in a while, 50 feet apart maybe, in some of the worst spots. So it's very reassuring as you're plodding along through the brush here to come up to these. And it's pretty obvious people have been volunteering and coming out here and clearing the trail, so thanks to them there's really very little deadfall. And then of course it's reassuring to see a cut log once in a while. It just reminds me I'm on the right trail. So far, so good. I made it to the Howard Lake campsite. It's about 8.5 miles from the trailhead, so that's about as far as I'd hoped to get today. The trail was not as bad as I had thought, and I'm sure that's thanks to the volunteers that have been clearing the trail. I could see some fresh cut for a couple of miles there, so thank you for clearing that up. Thanks to the rock cairns and just enough of a trail to follow, I was able to get here. I also had my GPS with, so every so often I would check a GPS mark, just to make sure. And I found those to be very accurate and kind of reassuring too. And on occasion there's a few sections where there's blue ribbons that have been tied to trees as well. So it's really a lot better than I had imagined. So Howard Lake is nice. I passed one guy today. Apparently he and his buddy started off from the trailhead. His buddy's going to continue on. The guy I passed walking back has to work tomorrow, so he had to turn around and go home. But he mentioned there was a moose swimming around in Howard Lake here, so I'll keep my eyes open for that and keep my camera close. But isn't that the story? I always see the guy that saw the moose, but I rarely see anything interesting myself. So that's about it for day one. Good morning, it's day 2. I'm on Howard Lake, getting ready to hit the trail. Just had 2 thoughts this morning. One, I wanted to mention my Thermarest Neo Air Uber Light. I just got that this year. Every year I try and upgrade one piece of equipment just to make it lighter. So I forget, I think this saved me about 10 ounces over the sleeping pad that I was using. But I gotta say, it was really comfortable. Plenty thick. The air stayed in all night, of course, and you can see it packs down really small. So I also saved a couple of cubic inches inside my pack. So highly recommend it. And we'll see if it lasts the trip. And the other thing I wanted to mention was just a shout out to the folks who did the I Got Kecked video last fall. That video did a great job of kind of setting my expectations for what the trail conditions would be, and it also gave me that extra boost that I needed to actually get the permit and come out here and do this trip. You know, once I knew other people had done it and that it could be done, you know, the brush wasn't going to stop me completely, or the trail would just come to a total end. That gave me what I needed to give it a try. So it's certainly not an easy trail, but it's doable now. Again, thanks to those volunteers that have been clearing the brush out of the way. So time to hit the trail. I have a Eureka Apex Solo, so it takes up a very small footprint, and the best ground cloth I have found is a garbage bag with the cut along the sides and then spread out. North side of Kekekabic Lake right now, and it seems like there's a really nice corridor that's been cut through a lot of the trail, so it's pretty easy going. Just follow the rock cairns and follow the corridor through the trees. So after the fire, I forget how many years it's been, but these trees are 10 to 15, a couple of 20 footers out here, so as that's been growing up, I assume by keeping the corridor clear, it actually makes for a pretty good trail. I'm wrapping up day 2. I'm at the Harness Lake campsite. This is a kind of a challenging walk today. A lot of ups and downs. Also, the temperature hit about 80 degrees according to the little thermometer I have on my backpack. So that was a bit of a surprise. Just drank a lot of water and did my best to get here. So at the moment I'm just waiting for some thunderstorms to roll by. Actually all day I've been hearing rumbling, so got the tent set up and figured I'd wait an hour before I make supper just to hopefully get a little clear patch of sky so I can eat without getting rained on. Had to flip on the GPS 2-3 times today. Once when I was walking through a campsite just beyond Amagok Falls, I think it's called. The trail literally runs right through the campsite, and so I got confused for a few seconds on where the trail exited, and it pretty much just runs straight through. You almost walk over the top of the grate. And then twice trying to cross beaver dams, I got all the way across the beaver dam because I was so focused on doing that I missed a right turn. But fortunately with the GPS I could see where the arrow was pointing to the nearest waypoint in front of me, and I just sort of found my way back. But I realized if I'd have just been looking to the right when I crossed both of those, I would have seen the exit point and where the trail continued on. So, other than that, the trail's in remarkably good condition considering how little used it is, and the flies are really bad. It's the end of day 3, and I've arrived at the campsite on the little pond next to Thomas Lake. Generally the hike was pretty flat today. I did go by the old fire tower, and it was of course kind of hilly there, but after that it sort of went down into a low area and stayed pretty flat and pretty straight. So this campsite, it's not very scenic, but it is just a short walk down to some rapids. And I should mention, all the campsites I've stayed at have one tent pad, maybe 2 in a pinch. So if you come out here with more than 1 or 2 people, you'll want to keep that in mind. You might even want to get a couple of permits and then stagger along the trail so that you don't have more than, say, 2 people at a campsite. And the tent pad footprints are pretty small. It's day 4. I'm at the Neasy Lake campsite. And this is the spot I had planned to camp tonight, but I'm making good time today. And there's a forecast for thunderstorms and then rain tomorrow morning. So I'm just going to push through out to the Snowbank Lake Road. And today the trail was through a lot of woods, so kind of like a green tunnel for most of it. And an absolutely amazing amount of downed wood over the course of the years. And there must be 1,000 cuts out there where people have sawed their way to keep the trail open. So thank you for that. So I'm just going to water up here and hit the trail again. The reason I'm out here is because I've heard about the Kekekabic Trail for my entire life, and I've always been curious about it. And finally, after completing the Spear hiking trail last year, doing it in sections, I wanted to give myself one more challenge on a true wilderness trail, and it feels good to get that done.